Good evening and good day. What is going on, YouTube? Give this a minute, unscheduled as usual. So we don't expect anybody to show up, but we'll let it run a little bit to see who does show up. Hope everybody's enjoying their new year. It's like we told you it wasn't going to get any better. And boy, it seems like it's delivering. Um, but I hope everybody is doing good and getting through their winter unscathed. Sounds like the East Coast is had a storm and is getting another storm, and weather-wise, things are rolling through. It's been a very mild January here. Really warm, no weather, none, no clouds. I don't even think. Not since before New Year's we had that storm. It's been very dry, so it's unfortunate. Really warm, not just clear, but very warm, and it's been close to 50 a couple days, several days, I would say, I guess. So not ideal for the weather situation and the way it works out here. But hope everybody else is getting the weather that they need. Hopefully we get some snow in February. And then they always have the old standby miracle March that we can rely on to deliver the goods and bring some snow for us, hopefully, and rain. But yeah, it's bad when the river's running as high and as fast as it is right now in the middle of January. That's a bad. I mean, even in the mountains, the snow is melting, so that's bad, bad. So, but those of you that are having to endure the snow and dig out, hopefully it doesn't impair you too much. Hope you're still able to get things done. But lots going on. It's like we said things wouldn't get any better, and they just continue to speed up. All the worst fears come true. All the things that Mule talked about a decade ago are right there in front of people's faces, and it's like things get thrown in front of people just to let people know that it's to gain acceptance in large respect. I think it's like those of us that have always suspected or known, mostly suspected because you have no hard evidence, right? Mostly suspected the nefarious things that were going on, and it's right there in front of you. It's to acclimatize the general populace of the nefarious things they're doing, and to gain acceptance of the nefarious things they're doing. So such as it is, you know. Hey, what's going on, guys? Got Walter Davis checking in, Uncle Al, and Chipper66. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for checking in. Thanks for dropping by. I mean, like, really, where do you start with January? The Patriot Front issue continues to rear its head and try to continue the divide and conquer tactic that they're supposedly a legitimate movement and supposedly this big threat, because they got to paint a threat because they're going to create one to leverage one side against the other. And that's where we're at on that. I think we talked about it last time, or I did that lunch chat or whatever. How people believe that that's legitimate is beyond me. It's so, I mean, color coordinated and everything. It's like I have been to so many rallies and so many events and been to so many groups, and even the unorganized militia can't get that color coordinated, like. But people want to believe in something. People want to believe. It's like Hugh. People want to believe in this thing out there that has never happened before. That somehow it's just going to appear. So the more pain is inbound. People have to endure a lot more before they realize that we're all alone and it's up to us. There is nobody coming to save you. Who says that? Somebody else says that. If it's to be, it's up to me is an old saying, but there's a channel that says that. I can't remember. I can't remember who was saying it more recently. I'm losing my mind. Yeah, it's all a setup, right, Uncle Al? Just ask the FBI. Oh, it's painful. And speaking of the 3-letter agencies or the 5-letter agencies, the BATFE gets outed yesterday with a record of 1 billion gun transfers, gun purchases in America that they're not supposed to have. But that's one of those things they let leak out there, right, to gain acceptance, because shoot, 40% of the population's like cheering them on, like, yeah, have all those records. You need all those records. 30% of the population's asleep and doesn't pay attention, and then there's us, the 30% that are like, oh, this is what we always suspected, right? So the BATF with the E comes out saying they have purchases and records of 1 billion gun transfers, and all most of it electronic, all of it documented, and it kind of the only people that really raise an eyebrow, the gun organizations and us. Nobody else sees the unconstitutionality of the whole thing, and the extreme rule of law government that creates in the situation we're in. Um, and then, miraculously, as if a calling from the heavens, today there's 2 school shootings to kind of put that under the radar. Just miraculously, just the BTF's got all these records. Well, to justify that, there's 2 shootings the next day. That, oh wow, how did that happen? Amazing. And in one of the reports, I think it was the Minnesota one, Minnesotan said the BATF is responding to the situation. Like, why is it anything to do with the federal government when it's a local law enforcement? Like, they put their nose in everything, just like the other 3-letter agencies that they shouldn't be involved in. So there's that situation to keep your eye on. The encroaching police state. As predicted, and matching up with, almost parallel to, the growing economic collapse. I did a video on this years ago. As the economic collapses, the police state will rise. We are now $30 trillion in debt. As pretty much everybody knew we were steamrolling toward, right? It's marrying up, so it's like, it's frustrating because you saw it coming a decade ago, and you can only prep and do so much. It's like, yeah, still not ready for it. Still not ready for the impending doom that it brings on. But most people don't care. So many people don't think the debt has any effect, while as it's going on, it's lessening the value of their labor. If people really put it into terms and how it affected their ability to buy things or what they're valued at, it is lessening your value as the individual, is what you produce, is lessening that value and destroying any possibility of success or, buying power is what they always talk about, but just being successful, destroys any opportunity you're going to have to take your earnings and put them somewhere else to do something else. Now, granted, there's always possibilities, and yeah, you can work hard and still do something, but it makes that less and less likely for many people. So yeah, that news came out today, almost parallel with the ATF situation. $30 trillion in debt, and it's only 50 trillion. I say 2024, 50 trillion's on the table. 50 trillion. We were talking what, 20 trillion 5 years ago. It's exponential, and people don't get that. And that goes back to where the graphic that shows all the trillions that were spent in the last 2 years is more than all the debt from like 1781 till what, like 1999 or something like that. Like all the way up to there, like all that debt was accumulated in that short a period of time. But like you say, the dollar is worthless, literally, since 1913, but really, really more so since 1971 when they cut off the gold standard. Even accelerated that because the implementation of the Federal Reserve pretty much devalued the dollar. The gold confiscation made the dollar even more worthless. So, on and on and on. I think we got a Corsair trainer spotting. What's up, Steve? Is Mule checked in? What's up, Mule? We've already name dropped you, Mule. Yeah, right, Mule. That's what I was saying. A decade ago, we were raising to the rooftops just to clear our conscience. And we said it so many chats, like, we're just clearing our conscience. It's not like we're going to have a huge effect. We help people maybe understand a little bit that are already kind of thinking that way. But I don't know that we've ever brought anybody out of the wilderness and into the light. I don't know that we've ever. We may have. Maybe we got. Maybe some fortunate soul was able to come across something and see the light. But mostly, we're talking to the, preaching to the choir in some respects, but people that maybe haven't put the dots all together, maybe we help connect some dots sometimes. That's the way I look at it. But we definitely were clearing our conscience, like, freight train's coming, get off the tracks. Poco Loco, what's going on? What's good? Yeah, not a whole lot. I don't know how it is up there, Poco, but yeah, this dry winter is really kicking us in, you know? But what else in January? What the Tonga earthquake, the Tonga volcano and tsunami. It happened and it kind of disappeared. Um, that was a big event, and I don't see a whole lot of talk about the effects on South America and the cooling, in South America and Australia through the next year about how that's going to affect them. Maybe they don't want to admit that, that's more emissions than was ever emitted by any human ever, any group of humans or humans as a collective ever, out of that Tonga event. Um, but that could have huge growing season effects. We were chatting a little bit on the Twitter, like what's raised in South America. Coffee, uh, cocaine. I don't know what are the big agricultural stuff that comes out of the southern hemisphere that could be affected by that. Because if you've seen it from Mount St. Helens and some of the other earthquakes, that's just going to be the same thing in the southern hemisphere, but they don't seem to be talking about it. Um, on around into Africa. Like South Africa already has its own problems. Like how's it going to affect their growing, and the further continuance of destabilization there. Like all that stuff trickles down, right? The trickle down effect. Nobody wants to use that term. That's kind of been banned since the 80s, right? Or the 90s. Um, but I thought that Tonga incident kind of got greased over a little bit too quickly with some of the follow-on impacts that it could have agriculturally. Now, who knows? I'm not sure what else, but Tonga is a very remote, small location, so people are like, not a lot of people know, but a lot of people care, right? But we'll see how that works out in the long run. C103, what's going on? Thanks for checking in, dropping in. Poco had a week of ice. Have you moved? I thought you were up north. I thought you were up in the Spud state. Altinda dropping in. What's up, Altinda? You and Mule still holding down Illinois and all the madness that comes out of there. So, and it's interesting this month. So, in the last couple of weeks, like all these European countries are pretty much dropping every restriction, every governmental restriction that there's out there. Businesses open, no, stupid public orders or anything like that. But the states, so many states are hanging on with dear life because they're so politically invested in it, and it's trickling down, and it's hopefully. This is one of those things where you're preaching to the choir, like people that aren't already aware aren't going to really pay attention. They're not going to listen to you. Things got so bad here, and things were pushed so hard here because the bureaucracy is so corrupt in your state, in every state, my state. It's the bureaucrats that pushed and made that happen. It wasn't the president, it wasn't your governor. It's the people under them who have no principles, who only do what they're told. Everybody talks about the military and the police just doing what they're told. All these bureaucrats that have doctorates and master's degrees, who went to college educated and supposedly spoke out against those type of people, were more than willing to oppress other people when they were the ones giving the orders, or they're the ones feeding those orders down the line. Nobody was willing to step out of line. I don't think I've not heard of any public official in any sort of capacity that said, no, I'm not enforcing that. We're not. I mean, not talking about the sheriffs. I'm talking about like public health people, or the people that whoever else in your state may have implemented those measures. Department of Education people, all these people that were oppressing kids and doing all this stuff. It's still going on. It's the madness and the LA stuff. It's like every day there's an LA story about kids wearing masks in schools, and having to do this at lunchtime, and the way they're separated and segregated, and stay at home, and you're banished from the classroom. Or and I guess there's some, if you don't get the shot, some places, like, it's just baffling how people have accepted and latched onto it just because the political capital that it's built up. And well, if you, it's come to the point where if you don't get the shot, you're obviously a right wing lunatic. That's pretty much the way it's sold now. And if you're on the other side, you can, you're not a far lefty if you get this going on, but you're just a normal average American, right? That's the way it's being sold and pushed. Um, but it's just bizarre. Then and the hypocrisy at all. Nobody that's bought into that version of reality is willing to see the hypocrisy. When you got the governor of California at the football game or whatever with Magic Johnson, who is an immunocompromised individual, just hanging out, together or whatever, and the governor just got off lockdown with the because he had been exposed to the Wuhan or whatever, or no, was that Trudeau? I'm maybe mixing up my politicians, my target acquisition. I think it was both of them. I think Newsom just came off of it as well. He had recently been exposed. Thing is, you walk by anybody any day in a city like that, in a big city like the LA, you're by somebody every day potentially getting any type of virus. TB, LA is the biggest source of tuberculosis in the country. I mean, you want to talk about getting something that's bad for you. Has lifelong lasting effects. People walk around LA all the time with TB. Um, you know, but it's just shocking. Did I hear a Howie? Did I have a Howie sighting? What's up, FFP? How you doing up there in the Great White North? And I was going to get to the Canadian situation as I was mixing in the Newsom hypocrisy. Trudeau ran and hide as soon as the truckers showed up, right? I'm sure everybody's following that. It is a bright sign of hope. Having that mass organized, event is something of significance, right? There was video this evening of one of the border crossings where other truckers had went to and had blocked off, and they were threatening to arrest them. The Canadian police, whatever, the Canadian Mountie guys, and they pulled back. They pushed back and they went away. That just happened at one of the border crossing points where a lot of trade goes through, I guess. So that's blocked off. So that situation's kind of escalating. But they say they're in it for the long haul, which is all well and good. People in America kind of have this idea that we should do the same thing. My counterpoint on Twitter: truckers, if anybody knows any truckers, if anybody knows a trucking company, if anybody's on your CB, relay this message. The best thing I think the truckers could do is not deliver to DC. Refuse to deliver to DC. The message will be quickly received. More quickly, I think. Going there and blocking traffic and everything, you can try to consider it as an intimidation thing, but I think just not delivering to that district is the ideal solution. Um, it might just starve them out. But I think that's what I would do if truckers wanted to organize. The simple thing is to boycott delivering into DC. It affects a lot fewer people. It doesn't affect the general populace, which is already, we have supply limitations, we have restrictions already. Um, don't deliver to Capital. Don't deliver to Sacramento. Don't deliver to Olympia. Don't deliver to Carson City because our stupid governor. Maybe do it there too. Maybe trickle down to all those levels. Then the pressure comes more from a local level without you getting in the crosshairs of the boys in blue, right? Because they're the ones that are ultimately going to be called in to escort all this stuff out, or um, whatever they're willing to escalate to. Because if you get over the target enough, we saw what they did to Lavoie. We know they will go to guns. Or does it need to go to that? That's not my call. You do what you want to do. But I think more effective would be to boycott deliveries to DC first, maybe to state, Albany. What are the big threat cities, the big blue cities like that? Um, Springfield. Springfield's the capital of Illinois, right? Am I right? Um, Places like that. Don't deliver. Stop deliveries. Make it easy. It's a lot easier, I think, and it sends the same message and it can be effective um, very quickly. Because like we know, 3 days, supply chain 3 days, like, people might be able to travel to get their food from the grocery store or whatever, but pretty quickly, other stuff and it'll have enough effect, I think, to have this. a better effect than driving and shutting down the roads in these capitals or whatever. So just some thoughts on the trucker thing. But Canada, good on you for doing what you did. That's some superior coordination and organization. And I guess GoFundMe sees some money from them, and there's money issues, and people are really supporting them. And we get the black helicopter going overhead right now, right as we're speaking about the rising up of the masses. We're in the flight pattern, if you didn't notice. But yeah, that Canadian situation will. I saw another video of farmers getting all out there with their tractors. I guess they were going to Ottawa. But again, you're wasting so many of your own resources for very little gain. I mean, granted, freedom is worth the price, but make the enemy use their resources. Make them figure out how they're going to get supplies into the capital city when you're just not going to bring them. You're the ones that are not going to bring them. Make them expend their energy and figure out how they're going to support themselves and feed themselves without you. Is maybe a way to look at it. Because you can find other deliveries. Most of these truckers can find other places to deliver to and other goods and stuff. And if you got these politicians under the gun because you're not delivering those places because of their policies, that's where the pressure ultimately comes from. There's more people than there are truckers, right? Like we've always said, people until they get uncomfortable will not rise up or wake up even. They won't even look up to see what's going on. They've done so much in the last 2 years to keep entertainment going. I mean, look at Netflix. Netflix blew up in 2021, right? Or in 2020, goodness, 2 years ago. The earnings and all the money that got dumped into that and advertising, and they worked so hard to keep that stuff going because they want to keep people focused on something, right? Some distraction from everything else that was going on. And like I said early on in this whole thing, this is not, if you think this is still about a virus, you have missed the point. But yeah, Howie, it's not cheap for sure. But I think you have to look at this as already engaged in low level. This is fifth generation warfare. You have to make the enemy expend more resources than you, and you have fewer resources than the enemy has almost unlimited resources. So you have to get ways for them to expend as much as energy as possible while you're minimizing that's the way that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't pay the price. I'm saying be smart about it. That's just what I'm saying. But yeah, I just wanted to go for a few minutes, talk about the January situation because it is just picked up business and more, and people are digging in their heels politically here in the States to the point where, all these social light countries in Europe are easing everything up and going semi back to normal. Either they got scared or realized it didn't work or realized they weren't getting the leverage they thought against the people. I don't know, but it's a travesty the way things are going down here. I mean, really, here where I'm at, like, there is no restrictions as far as what people are doing. There's just psychos who are still wearing masks everywhere they go and outdoors and everywhere. It's that compliant piece of the population that they're relying on to push things. So really, staying on top of our local politicians and what they do and what they support is important. But unless you're in Washoe or Clark County where Reno and Las Vegas are, it's almost like nothing's going on other than the propaganda, other than the signs and other than the advertisements and ads on TV and on the radio and stuff like that. Like you see the crazies out there with their mask on everywhere. That's about it. Nobody else is paying attention. You go everywhere you want to, any way you want to. Nobody says anything to you. Store people don't tell you to do anything. Restaurant people don't tell you to do anything. Well, at least I haven't been to Reno, and it's been over 6 months. It's probably been 6 months. So I'm not sure if it's changed, but back then, even then, it was like people are tired of trying to do the government's dirty work in large respect. But if people just exercise some common sense, we would have been out of this a long time ago. But no, they wanted to be tyrannical instead. Hey, what's up, Eric? Way too many sheep in Reno. Yeah, there's the college doesn't help. The college is the biggest problem of that we got going up there. I guess the um, what do you call it? Uh, Not the convention bureau, but whoever, like the organization that pools all the lobbying group for the casinos. I guess they're talking about a lawsuit against um, Sisolak and his staff for this whole shenanigans. I guess that's the word I. That's just something I heard. I haven't seen it officially or nothing like that. But the casino industry is basically going to sue the governor and his staff for whatever chart, damages or whatever, because of the way they just snap lockdown with very little evidence, very little decision. They just did it because he thought he could do it. He got away with it. Again, it's that enforcement class that just does what they're told, and the bureaucracy that follows. Um, I didn't want to. I mean, I didn't want to get into it, but our situation here with the governorship is just so it's terrible. So Lombardo, as everybody knows, is our favorite chief of down in Metro PD and the sheriff of Clark County, and we all know his tie back to 2014, right? He was the head man out there at the ranch and the head man that went out there and did the thing. And then the October 1 situation and how he got kind of wrapped up in that whole deal, and it kept everything hush hush for the feds. Obviously, it's like him and Sisolak are tied at the hip from right there. There's no difference between Lombardo and Sisolak. They're from the same group of people, and yet the GOP out of state money that's dumping into Lombardo's campaign for governor is off the charts. I'm pretty sure it said it was a record money haul for him. So we could end up getting stuck with a two-time loser just because of the money situation and the propaganda they're going to pump out. Because they know Sisolak's goose is cooked. I think he has so little support for all this madness, um, except for the most hardcore, mentally deranged people, and a lot of them are the upper echelon types, right? But that's our situation here as far as replacing the current regime. Um, that's all I've really seen. I don't pay attention to a whole lot coming up, but that's one of the things on the radar. Is that just the replacements on the one side for against Sisolak are just very thin and not the greatest choices. Um, Very poor, except for Fiore. Nobody likes Fiore because she's got a loud mouth. In my opinion, that's she's a pretty decent candidate, but she is a loud mouth and stuff like that. She's a carpetbagger too, though. You got to admit, she's a carpetbagger. So I'm a carpetbagger in most respects when you look at it that way. But just about everybody in Nevada now is out of staters. There's some overwhelming numbers. Um, but yeah, I hope everybody else's situation is not as tenuous. How you didn't think a revolution would start in Canada? Yeah, they're talking about trying to remove the trucks. We'll see how it hits. How that should be interesting. The dancing Israelis checked in. What's going on? A lot of COVIDiots in Vegas. Yeah, I don't think it's any better in Reno. I think the biggest problem in Reno is the health officer, the health district chief official there he took a big power grab. He fired the guy that knew best what to do because he wanted to do it his way and he wanted to do it the governor's way more importantly, and he fired the best guy for the job right off the bat. So that put Washoe way behind the power curve early on, and then they just sped up the process of what they were doing. So I just wanted to check in with you all and just highlight some of the stuff that went on in January and how we're all enjoying our quick slide into the abyss, or not so quick slide. We've been doing this for years, and it continues to get just escalate and escalate. The pressure, the inflation is one of the biggest pressures on everybody that you don't see, you don't feel necessarily until you go to make a big purchase or you go to do something that you really put some money into. Then you start to notice the inflation. The gas prices, they inch it up and they go down a little bit in summer or winter, and then they come back up, and it's kind of like one of those ebb and flow things, just incrementally moves up. um, it doesn't hit quite as hard because even you pay 30 cents more for 30-gallon tank, or yeah, say 30 gallons of fuel, right? That works out to what, $1.80? Is my math? No, wait, what am I saying? 30 cents, 30 gallons. I can't do math. Is that $3? $3, right? It doesn't, wait, $6. Or is that $9? Man, I can't count. Anybody do the math out there? Throw it out there. But it's the numbers in dollars every time you get to fill up. But it's the bigger stuff that starts to incrementally improve. I mean, we saw the lumber prices. You're seeing scarcity to some degree. I have noticed it seems like this winter, most of the scarcity posts that I've seen are all east of Denver. I haven't seen a lot out west. We had a little bit, I talked about it when we had the snowstorm. We had our issues here. But most of the big continuous shortages and shelving I see is east of Denver. So I don't know if there's a West Coast East Coast supply difference. Um, I'm not sure, but I've continued to track that as the winter goes on. Hey, what's up, Grain Oak? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And I'm sure you guys are doing videos, but I haven't seen a lot of videos lately. I haven't checked in on people, so I'm sorry. I think I saw an Uncle Al video last week. Um, so I've been negligent in some of that. I'm sure everybody's pumping some good stuff out, but I've been just doing the things. We'll try to catch up with everybody or see what's going on. Um, but yeah, that trucker thing, like you said, how if the revolution starts in Canada, right? Hopefully, the guys at the border checkpoint, they need to rearrange our trucks a little bit, get a little bit better position set up. I think to in case they do come in hard on them, because if they bring in the armored vehicles on them, they're gonna. Do they? I imagine the Canadian Mounted Police have armored vehicles up there, right, Howie? I mean, I don't think that they would not be as militarized as other places, but I'm pretty sure they probably do. So they have some weaknesses towards those type of vehicles if they rearrange and help them out. Um, but hopefully they keep doing what they're doing. But I don't know, pass it on to some truckers. Just stop delivering to the capitals of these places, and maybe that'll instigate some food for thought. And just advertise it like, hey, we're boycotting these shipments, these deliveries. Your move, you know. So it's good to talk to y'all. We got to check out. Hey, what's up, ZPD Survival? There's another. Speaking of videos, ZPD, I failed to even get you a ski video. We got to get to work on this, right? So it's good to see you all. We'll see what February has to hold. Hopefully we get some winter around here, but hopefully everybody's got, it's the same thing. Prep hard, live free. We'll talk to y'all later. Where's my checkout? There we go.